Hey guys, my name is Neel and welcome to Neel Workshop Zone. So in this episode we will be talking about the Fibonacci numbers and we'll be also talking about the introduction of how to use algorithms and data structures. So in our previous episodes we talked about the main introduction of data structures, algorithms and some of the basic definitions that we use while working with data structures and algorithms. So if you haven't checked it out, I recommend checking out those episodes. But in this episode, we're going to be talking about Fibonacci numbers. So without any further ado, let's talk about it. So, Fibonacci numbers or Fibonacci sequence is something you might have heard a lot of times, right? So what are these Fibonacci numbers? Well, Fibonacci numbers always start with a 0 or a 1. And how they work is every Fibonacci number is the sum of the previous two numbers. So for example, 0 plus 1 is 1. So the next Fibonacci number is 1. The next Fibonacci number is the sum of the two previous numbers. So 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 3 is 8, 8 plus 5 is 13, 13 plus 8 is 21 and goes on. So this is basically Fibonacci numbers. Now Fibonacci numbers, for a little bit of history, Fibonacci numbers were introduced in the 13th century by an Italian mathematician known as Fibonacci, which is why it gets its name of Fibonacci numbers. So that is basically about Fibonacci numbers, and Fibonacci numbers are really helpful when we're working with data structures and algorithms because this is a key to understanding or an introduction on how data structures and algorithms work. So let me take my duster a little bit. So when you're trying to implement these Fibonacci numbers into your code, basically there are two ways to implement this, right? You can either use this implementation by using recursion, which we talked about in the previous episode, or we can implement this using loops. Now, loops is a concept which I've talked about a lot of times in my previous videos such as Java, Python, etc. So if you want more context about it, I recommend checking out those episodes. They will be linked in the description. But you can basically use for loops or recursion to make sure that Fibonacci numbers happen. So for example, when we write code such as make sure that the Fibonacci numbers till the next 20 numbers are printed, it basically can use recursion or for loop, which we might talk about in future episodes. We might do a couple of practical episodes, but for now we'll just talk about some introduction. So basically what we use data structures and algorithms, like we talked about in our previous episodes, is for managing storage and making sure that every process is done systematically. And there are different types of ways for systematically work to be done. And the first way you can say is you could say a bubble sort or selection sort. There are still many ways of sorting, but like I said, I'll just give an introduction to how data structures and algorithms work with bubble sort and selection sort. I feel like you can't see this here, so let me just write it over here. Bubble sort and selection sort. So what are these two different types of sorting? Well, bubble sorting is basically where it sets the different types of values given from increasing order. It goes from the smallest value to the largest value, and what it basically does is it sends the lowest values to the right side and keeps the smallest values to the left. So smallest to the left and highest to the right. And selection also works similarly, but there are a few different, just a small different way that this one works. So the difference between bubble selection, bubble sorting, selection sorting and different types of sorting is that they follow different ways of sorting. So for example, in one way of sorting, they were able to choose one specific number as a constant or as the median, and depending on that, it shuffles the other numbers into proper order. So if it's lesser than that, it sends it to the left side. If it's greater than it, sends it to the right side. Or it can go through every single value that is given in the value it is given, and can either reshuffle it in such a way that the smaller amount, or you can compare it from the previous or the forward amount, and make sure if it's less than that or greater than that and arrange it in that manner. There are different ways to do this, and it's a little bit hard to explain on a white blackboard. So for that we need to use practical, but this is basically the introduction of how DSA works. There are different ways of sorting, and these different ways of sorting have been used and implemented in their successful algorithms, so that DSA just becomes a lot more easy. So that is basically about the introduction of how there are different types of sorting, and each way of sorting helps us. And also we talked about Fibonacci numbers, and Fibonacci numbers are also really important when you're working with DSA. So this is a short and simple video. In the next episode we'll be talking about flowcharts. But for now, hope you enjoyed this little bit. If you did, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out any new videos. And that's all folks, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.